What's up, everyone? Okay. All right. Well, I'm live right now, off my laptop for the first time. I'm gonna give this a moment to be shared on Twitter before I start, and I guess allow people to hop on since I didn't announce this. Either way, whatever. Um, y'all can watch post live stream anyway. I just didn't want to. I didn't want to make the video by itself and then think later like, oh, well, maybe some people would have actually tuned in and would have wanted to ask other questions aside from the ones that I received. So, yeah. Okay. This has been shared. All right. So, what's up, everyone? As you should already know, my name is Denzel Mensah. Currently on campus right now, but graduation's about to start, and I'm not graduating yet. Took this year off, just so you know. But next semester, hopefully, good. Anyway, I'm here. I posted a few weeks ago that somebody requested that I do a Q&A on my YouTube channel, and I hadn't done that yet before. I answer a whole bunch of questions like from videos and in videos and stuff like that. Like when people ask questions like in the comments, then I'll respond in that way, but I haven't ever done like a live Q&A. So I decided to post something into the YouTube community. If they had like any questions, then they could like comment what the questions are. I took note of those questions, and now I'm about to just address them. And as you guys are watching, for those of you, hey Sarah, for those of you who are watching right now and everything, or will be tuning in later, well, actually, for those of you who are watching right now, you can tell those who tune in later that start to comment that they can drop questions, and I'll be here for a bit depending on how things go. But the main goal is to go through the questions that I have here right now, and depending on how the chat's looking, then I'll be more than happy to answer other questions. So there you go. First question, actually the first five, came from Shalina. Shout out to you, Shalina. And the first one of hers is, hey Denzel, so here are my questions for you. What were you like as a child? Were you more introverted / extroverted? Were you outspoken, etc.? Okay. Hey, what's up, Ella? So, as a child, I was definitely extroverted. That was no doubt. My parents said that I got along with everybody. I was the type of child that was like randomly saying hello to police officers. Like they make a running joke like now whenever my mom sees a police officer, she's ISFJ. So she has to relive my child days, and she doesn't want to see her son grow up. But hey, but she always has to like throw she has to always throw a she said that as a child I often go, hey officer, and I don't remember that, but I think that goes to show like a bit of like extroversion there. And I remember even like things that my relatives would tell me of me as a child. They said that I learned how to read at the age of 2, and I was very articulate. And this isn't to like brag on myself or anything at all. Just saying what is accurate. My parents said that I was so articulate as a child that the teachers used to tell them that like I was ahead of the class in my articulation, but because other people around my age, like even like David, for example, my INFJ friend that I have on here and everything, they're usually like I was more articulate than they were at that age, and I started to dumb myself down. And so that kind of like had my parents like, no, 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 you have to continue to speak like this. Like this is good. This is good. And I used to ask a lot of questions. I pretty much was just a good talker, like a good communicator. And that's I guess a key thing, because when I think of people who like talk too much, I think of people who just blabber, like they're not really saying anything. Like people just like hear them as like background noise. It's just like mindless chatter. And I made sure to clarify with my relatives and stuff like, well, was I annoying? Like they're like, no, like you were really smart. Like you were asking questions and stuff. It was just annoying to us because we didn't know the answers to your questions. And it's like, oh, okay, well then I guess that's not as bad, as long as I wasn't like, someone that was just saying things mindlessly. You know what I mean? So yeah, that was the type of child that I was. I was also very kind. Like me and my younger sister, I love her, Dante. Shout out to you if you're watching this. She's an INFP 9, and literally, I can't. She's a self-preservation though. I'm social. She's self-preservation, but literally, I can only recall 2 to maybe even 3 times that we've ever fought, and she says the same. And so I would like to think, well, my parents told me that I was a very affable child. Like, you hear a lot about siblings who always fought and everything. With me and my younger sister, my mom said that one example would be that like if she wanted to watch something on TV and I wanted to watch something on TV, I would always just be like, okay, and I would just give the remote to my younger sister. So I did not have as much of a problem with like just letting go of whatever to release to her. And she's grown to be like very, very kind anyway. So we really do get along. And in fact, the last time that we fought, which was like about a year or two ago, wasn't even really like a fight. It was more of like me and my mother had like I got like smart mouthed with my mother, and then Dante, my younger sister, like came to her rescue, like, hey, like don't talk to mom like that. And I'm like, well, I mean, like mom, because I was a little bit like irritated with some things. And then, it was kind of just like awkward like that. Like she was trying to defend my mom, and then there was just awkward tension. So it wasn't even like a fight. It was just like a looking at each other, and it was just really weird. But yeah, so that's how I was as a child. I talked a lot. I was the type of child that was like leading. I often talk about this. I led my friends out of Sunday school. Like I was a leader, but in the places where I felt comfortable. So in church, I felt very comfortable because I grew up in the church and all of that. And people like David, who, even though he was older than me, and then we had another friend named Sammy, who was also older than me, because they were more reserved and they were like more quiet, then it was easier to take charge and take lead of them and everything. But then when we took it to school, for example, then I was always a follower at school. Like I was trying to be like one of the cool kids. I was trying to fit in. I was trying to, really just, I don't know, like, like I was very rarely, if ever, a leader at school up until maybe like late high school, if anything. And that was after like I became a Christian and I started to like really find where my identity was in. And so then I started to become more bold in speaking like certain thoughts that I actually had. But before then, I was only a leader within like a small group at church that I was used to. And I was definitely a follower pretty much like everywhere else. That was just trying to like fit in and get my card into the group and all of that. So yeah, hopefully that answers that question. Number 2 from Shalina: what do you like and dislike most about humanity? What are humanity's strengths and weaknesses to you? So this could definitely be seen all over my channel as well. The thing that I like most about humanity? I'd have to say I like when, because it doesn't always happen, but I like when we always jump to defend each other. You know, I like when we always jump to try and be like, hey, wait a minute. Before we crucify this person, let's actually see like why they made the decisions that they made and what options they even had before them before we just bash them and destroy them and all of that. And let's try and like let's see if this is an opportunity to practice mercy, rather than immediately jumping to justice. I do believe that justice should be served in plenty of occasions, but I don't think that it should be served in as many occasions as it usually is. And so that's one thing for me that I really like about humanity, and it's kind of like a double-sided coin in that sense, because that's also the thing that I don't really like about humanity. I feel like humanity's weakness oftentimes is the ability to understand. They don't want to self-introspect enough. Like a lot of us are in denial of certain things within ourselves. Like we're in denial of certain behaviors. We are so blind to things that we do that when other people are doing them, then we get disgusted with what they're doing and not realizing that we do the very same thing, maybe in a slightly different manner, but it's still the same thing. And then we are so quick to call those people out on those things and like bash them, do all this and do all that. But then we don't see how in the narrative, if we were to watch our lives like play out before us, that we were doing the same thing. Like the thing that comes to mind right now, which I actually put in a recent video, I forgot which one it was King David. I don't know how many of you guys have read about David's story in the Bible and everything, the same one that killed Goliath. But this man, who's known as the man after God's own heart, like literally he saw Bathsheba, another man's wife, while he was on the roof of his palace. And mind you, this man, King David, has a whole bunch of wives already and a whole bunch of even like harlots, but he sees her and he's like, oh shoot. So he starts to lust after her, and then he's able to get her over to his crib. He sleeps with her, and then she ends up getting pregnant. And then, long story short, he ends up arranging for her husband to come home because her husband was out at war for him. And her husband is a very, very loyal guy. So loyal that not only did he come home, what King David was trying to do is he was trying to get her husband to sleep with her so that the husband would think that the baby is his. And I feel like that was kind of smart. But what he didn't see coming was that the husband, Uriah, was so loyal that Uriah didn't even go home to sleep with his wife. He's like, how could I do that when you could be in danger? So I'm going to sit and I'm going to guard for you while I'm home. So then King David arranged for Uriah to go back out to the army. And not only do that, but he put him at the front so that the husband, Uriah, could get killed. Evil. So not only did he lust, but then he also slept with the woman. He got her pregnant. He tried to do a whole bunch of manipulation, and all of this he did not feel was wrong, or like we don't see in the story that he actually felt some type of way about that. You know what I mean? But then at the end of the day, when all of this goes on, then the prophet Nathan comes to him, and Nathan gives him this whole allegory, like, so there was this man who only had a sheep, and then there was this other man who owned like a whole palace or whatever, and then still the man decided to take the man's sheep. This is just truncated version. And King David jumps like, who is this man? That man needs to be murdered. And Nathan's like, well, actually, this man is you. And then it took that story for King David to be like, oh shoot, that is me. And it's like, dang, like why are we not self-introspective enough to notice these things about ourselves? But then as soon as we see a problem in somebody else, now all of a sudden we're leaping and that man needs to go to jail. That man needs to be killed. And it's like when you do the same thing, in fact, you are that man, So that's something that bothers me in society. And shoot, who knows? Maybe I'm doing the same thing. I try my best not to, So even as I'm saying this, I'm like looking to myself, and I continue to always, I try my best to self-introspect, like before I go and point a finger. And even then I try to rarely point a finger. But when I do, I try to make sure that I don't have like fingers pointing back at me. Or if I am, I include myself in that. Like, yo, like I struggle with this too. And that makes me have like a little bit more compassion. But I feel like a lot of humanity, we don't have compassion. Like even this whole Aisha Curry thing that's going on, come on. Like I'm not even gonna get into that right now. But like really, y'all, like this is, I don't know. So that's that's a weakness that I see in humanity. Number 3 of 5 from Shalina. Where do you see society and yourself going in the next few years? That's a good question. Um, Dang, that's a whole video in and of itself, but I'm gonna try and like just poke at one thing. I think that our society right now is far too sensitive. And I've done videos about this, you know, trying to encourage people to learn how to use more tact. Like the recent video that I put up was, does this make me look fat? Which is pretty much talking about the concept of us having the responsibility as truth tellers or opinion tellers, whatever, to make sure that we deliver our truth in a manner that will actually be receptive, you know? But then also those of us who are receiving opinions and truth, whatever, we should be able to, we need to just not, we need to have tougher skin, you know? So it's a dance that we both have to do. And I feel like our society right now, it all ties into the understanding thing. Like everybody's just fighting because they're not taking enough time to understand the other side. And then sometimes one side does take the time to understand the other side, but then it's not being reciprocated. And if we're not both in this dance, that's a problem. So yeah, going back to that question, where do I see society going in the next few years, and myself? I see myself continuing to preach about this very thing. I see myself continuing to preach about understanding and about mercy and about listening. Like we don't listen. We don't know how to listen, you know, and it's really sad because like a lot of people take pride in being good listeners, but then when I observe them, I'm like, no, I actually don't think that you are a good listener. That's just my opinion, but hey, but I'm gonna like continue to give at least my thoughts and opinions for whoever is able to listen to them, even if it's 100 years from now, you know, after I'm dead and people are like, hey, who is that Denzel? Dang, his videos were kind of long, but now that he's dead, all of a sudden I have the time and interest to check him out. And hopefully it'll change lives and perspectives from then going. Jamila. And so I see myself doing that. I see myself like continuing to preach about that and helping people to shift their perspective so they can have more mercy and patience and all of that. Because and teaching those who are too sensitive to man up a little bit. Well, I'm sorry. That you can't really say phrases like that nowadays because you know. I didn't mean that in a sexist way, but I mean it as in like a toughen up. You know what I mean? Like don't be so sensitive. Don't be so open to that type of attack. You know what I mean? Like try and understand if the person actually meant it. Like somebody said, being offended is a choice. And I think that sometimes it's good to be offended because you can use that to create change. You know, you can't just like be numb to everything. But then at the same time, you shouldn't be offended by everything. Even if somebody meant something offensive to you, you should choose what things should actually deserve to be offended over and how you respond to them. So I see society being a little bit too sensitive right now, and that oversensitivity that we have in our society is going to drive us into the ground. Like, unless if we start learning how to toughen up more and to not be so quick and defensive, but like to actually listen more and to understand each other more. And then we can holistically come together and be like, okay, these are the things that I agree with. These are the things I don't agree with. how can we make this work without becoming hostile? And I'm always talking about the middle ground, Jubilee's middle ground videos on here on YouTube, where they come together, opposing sides. They come together and then they discuss things. So yeah, I think that's where I see society going, like becoming too sensitive to the point where everybody's just divided, and then when we're divided, we can't really conquer anything, But if we can find a way to still have our differences and our individuality, but then find ways to be able to have them work together to continue to build humanity, that'd be great. And that's kind of what I feel like my mission is, to help bring some of that to surface. What are the traits of a good friend to you? Number one, consistency. I very, very, very heavily value consistency. I'm not saying that we have to talk every day. I understand everybody's like busy and all of that, but I really heavily value like consistency, as in like the value, the substance in whatever we're talking about. I want there to be substance. I want there to be vulnerability. I want us to be able to, like, one of my friends said that I'm somebody who I literally cut up. It's almost like figuratively, I cut up the people that I love the most, and then I examine each of their limbs very closely. And yeah, that's how I am, because I want to know like everything I can about the person. And hopefully I'm interesting enough for the person to return that, because I think that builds a very, very deep connection. So I'm not the type of person who's just like, you're telling me things about yourself that are meaningful to you, and I'm just like skimming it, or I just want the gist. Like, I want everything. I want to know everything about you. You know what I mean? So that's kind of like what I really like value in a friend, or the traits of a good friend, like being able to listen, good listening. If you have like great listening skills and you're able to retain the information that somebody's saying to you, and then you have someone, a good friendship is being able to reciprocate that. So yeah, that's in essence what it is: consistency and great listening, and being genuinely into the other person. You don't have to agree with everything that I think and everything that I say, but as long as you're respectful and consistent, and you can see how it makes sense to me, that I really value that, because I like learning from other people. And last question from Shalina: can you describe your teenage years? Did you change from when you were a child? How did you act in middle school / high school? So yeah, I kind of already like hit on that from the number one, where in my teenage years, that's when I became a Christian. Like, I became a Christian at the age of 15. And then that's when I became a little bit more rooted in my identity. Like, I actually felt like, wow, I have something to speak about. I stopped being a follower as much, and I started like gaining more confidence. Like, okay, I have a message to preach out to the world. I have a message to, like, I have a purpose, a destiny, something. I got meaning for my life in a way. And even though I grew up in the Christian household and everything, it was more of just like religion to me. Like, oh yeah, Jesus, pray, stuff like that. I don't want to go to hell, stuff like that. But it wasn't until like age 15 that I really started to know Jesus for myself. I started like doing like research, like, yo, what does make Christianity, like, is Christianity even real? Like, all these different people who wrote the Bible and stuff like that. So when I started like really looking into all of that and everything, then I really started to grow more in my identity. And then I stopped being as much of a follower. And then, discovering MBTI, that really helped me a lot too, because it helped me realize like, oh, I'm not broken. My severe empathy for people and mankind and whatever else that comes with an ENFJ, like, this is all natural. So that really helped a lot. And it did change from, like how I was as a child. Like, I was still outgoing, but it helped me to be more confident and sure of who I am. And then in having these opinions and stuff, and that allowed me to, instead of being the follower all the time, I've actually been able to be a leader in a lot of instances. Although I don't necessarily like seek leadership, but if people like naturally vote me to be leader, I'm usually very capable of like, doing that. So yeah. All right. So we have a few more questions from here, and I'm seeing the chat blow up a lot more than I thought it was going to. So this is cool. I'm definitely going to get to y'all's questions soon. I'm just going through the ones that had already like sent them previously. So this one's coming from, sorry if I butcher any of y'all's names, Sruti Chandran. He says, or she, the Abby's a bonfire, but what helped you integrate into a 3 as a 9? Okay, I would say in short terms that what helped me integrate into a 3 as a 9 was my study on personality psychology, to be honest. Like when I started listening to especially like personality hackers podcasts on the ENFJ, and they were like talking a lot about like how to develop yourself, even though I did not know my Enneagram type at the time, growth is growth, and as an ENFJ, getting all of those tips on how to grow myself helped me to become, once again, more confident. I was not as much of a follower and all of that, and, as a sloth, as I was maybe like in my younger years. But now I actually had purpose. I actually had something to drive towards. And so when I started like, really learning more about myself and becoming more confident in who I am, then I naturally started to become more confident in how I approached the world. And I naturally started like wanting to share more of my insights. So that's when I started like posting more statuses and posting more tweets. And next thing you know, I'm making blogs, and the next thing you know, I'm also now I'm on YouTube, stuff like that. So that's what really helped me to integrate into 3. And I'm still have a lot of work to do. Like there's still a lot of things like I definitely catch myself just being lazy a lot of times, not sharing a lot of my thoughts a lot because, I'm still constantly battling like, who cares, even for this Q&A, like maybe one of the reasons, okay, not maybe, definitely one of the reasons I hadn't done one in so long or ever is because it's like, well, yeah, who would really sit down and watch me talk about myself even more? Like I already post the spontaneous speaking videos, but now like I really wasn't expecting like anybody to actually be watching this live. And I was just going to say like, yeah, well, it's whatever, I'm doing this for the people who commented before. But so I just often think to myself, like, I don't really matter. And it's something that I have to fight. I literally have to fight it. Like, no, Denzel, you do matter. you do matter. Your thoughts can help change the world. And you should not fall victim to that inner dialogue anymore. And it's kind of flattering because then a lot of people on Twitter, they've only seen me after I started learning about MBTI and stuff. So they think of me as a 3. And it's like, oh, wow, that's funny. If you guys need me in real life, and especially before I knew about MBTI and stuff, yeah, no. But yeah. Have you ever had moments of exploding in anger when it was too much? This is something that 9s can do when they reach their breaking point, especially when they're 9-wing 1, such as myself. Yes, I have definitely had such moments. Coincidentally, my latest video was I called it zooming in on my relationship with anger as an ENFJ 9-1. And in that video, I talk a lot about my relationship with anger. And in shortest terms, I am huge on remaining calm, chill. I am very, very, very rarely angry. I'm incredibly patient. I don't yell, in fact, I feel like my voice is actually very quiet. Oftentimes, not like mousy quiet, but like when I went to profiler training, Joel Mark Witt, there was a running joke every single day. DZ, speak up, because his voice like booms, and I'm like, I'm trying, but I can't. So projecting is something that I'm still even learning, and sometimes my voice cracks. So yelling actually is too much energy for me. And that's why I try not to also talk over people. But yeah, I definitely had moments like where I've like blown up in anger. Most of them have been they always come out actually very passive aggressively. Um, Most direct times have still been passive aggressive, but they were like kind of like things like Tay. I love Tay. You guys know Tay from previous videos, my ESFP old roommate. And I love him, but he's a very attention seeking guy, and he knows this of himself. And there are times where I'm talking, and he would like interrupt to say something that's totally irrelevant and then totally derail the conversation and keep the attention on him. And 95% of the time, I just let him have it. It's like, okay, whatever. What I was saying was not that important anyway. I mean, it was, but it wasn't. Whatever, But then there was like an instance or three where when he did this, I can only remember one though, where he did this and I got like really upset. Like, you know what? Like, okay, no, because I wasn't talking, right? No, just go ahead. No, seriously, because you just love having the spotlight, don't you? Go ahead. And he's like, don't do that. And I really embarrassed him in that sense. So that's kind of like my blowing up. But usually my blowing up comes out and like being like very facetious. I'm like a very facetious type of person, which once again is like very passive aggressive. Like I will straight up like, sit there and just say in a very like calm, smiley face type of voice, all of these things that you just know are not true about yourself. Like, or I'll point out the stupidity. I'll just insult you with a very big smile on my face. Like I'll never cuss you out, but I'll even use like a whole bunch of like big words and stuff. Yeah, stuff like that. So yeah, hey, what's up, man? Or woman, crap, whatever. I just answered some of your questions. How do you think nines can go about developing assertiveness and setting healthy boundaries? I think that it always depends. I was going to say I think it depends on the Enneagram, the woman. Okay, got you. I think it depends on the MBTI type, I think. But if I'm to only go with just a 9 type, I think that really it is understanding. Find people that actually care about what you have to say. And that's something that I'm still working on. Like you guys on my YouTube channel, y'all are my like tribe in a way. Like I don't have like a million subscribers or anything. And my subscribers actually grow like very slowly. And I don't get as many views on my videos and stuff, but I'm happy with what I see. You know what I mean? And learning to be like happy with what you have there with like, wow, like 20 people actually cared about what I had to say about racism, or 30 people actually cared about this. One could look at it and be like, 30 views? That's so dumb. Like that's nothing. But for me, that's something, because it's like, if I was to sit down and actually like see 20 people actually listening to me about what I have to say, that's really affirming. And so as a 9, I think that you want to surround yourself with people like that, because those are the people that'll help encourage you to say more of the things that you think. Because if you surround yourself with more people who just keep on interrupting you and, oh yeah, I already know what you're going to say, and like just make you feel like, you're not really, like whatever you're saying doesn't really matter, you're going to continue to believe that. You already have enough of those thoughts like in your head. And so you're going to continue to believe that, and then you won't share anything at all. And I've hit that point several times. So I feel like when you are able to grasp that and keep that mindset and surround yourself with people, even if it's only a few, that actually really care about what you have to say, then that's really good boundary setting. Because then you don't really care about the people who don't really care about what you have to say, because you have the people who do care about what you have to say. And then on top of that, these people you'll be interested in them naturally to hear what they have to say And next thing you know, you have this like squad, this tribe, this family where you guys are sharing these ideas. Once again, you don't always have to agree, but you guys are respectful toward each other's ideas and thoughts and everything, and you all learn from each other and hear from each other. And I think that's really beautiful, in my opinion. And you guys are naturally meeting each other's needs in that sense. So if everybody's scratching each other's back, nobody has to worry about scratching their own back. And I think that that's a beautiful world. But we have too many people who are seeking to scratch their own back because they're afraid that nobody's going to scratch their back for them. And that's inhibiting them from scratching somebody else's back. And I think that's a problem. But hey, that's just me. How do nines look different based on their MBTI type? Still learning about that, but looking at my younger sister, who's an INFP 9, and she's a self-preservation, and me, an ENFJ social 9, I'm clearly more outgoing. I'm not like, oh yeah, let's party type of guy. I can get to that spectrum, but that's not like my natural state. But I'm definitely like more outgoing. I'm more assertive. And I'm more willing to go out and like, like strike up conversation. While with her, she's more reserved, and she's more like aloof. Like she has this like kind of like mindset, and for her, like as an INFP, her internal harmony is based on like her harmony is more internal. Like as long as I can be like la 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 la, you know what I mean? Then I'm at peace. That's her as an INFP 9 self-preservation. So she likes to watch things such as like SpongeBob. Like if she's sitting down watching SpongeBob, it doesn't matter if all hell is breaking loose in her life. She is fine. As opposed with me as an extrovert and as an ENFJ, I can't have internal harmony unless my external harmony is, whatever. So I can't run away into my internal world as easily as she can. I'm forced in a way to deal with what's in my external world and kind of like tackle it. So thank God for FE, where I can like be like, hey, let me solve this conflict, or let me help, bring peace here. That way I can also have peace within myself. Because as long as there's not peace around me, I don't have peace within myself. While with other 9s, especially like the introverted 9s or FI 9s, in my opinion, they don't really care as much. If there's peace like out there, like they can have the peace like within themselves. So that's what I think, to my experience. Okay, so moving on. Only 2 more people, and then I'm gonna hop into the chat. So Thomas asked one question. Well, 2, but it could be put into 1. Thomas S says, how did you find out about the MBTI? And what was the process of discovering that you were an ENFJ? Okay, so a lot of you probably already heard this story before, but long story short, we've all seen the 16 personalities tests, like roaming around on Facebook and stuff like that. And I had taken it before. I don't remember what I got, like, in the early days, because I just didn't really care. Maybe I don't know. I probably didn't take it, actually. But the first time that I do remember taking it was when David and Jamila, they were talking about it, and we were all in like different places. Like we had a group text, and they knew about the MBTI, but I didn't. And they were wondering what I was. So I'm like, okay, well, send me this test and I'll take it. So I took the test and I got ESTJ. And I'm reading it and I'm like, nah. And so they're like, yeah, do it again. And then I got ESFJ. And I'm like, oh, okay. I'm reading it. It's like, yeah, I'd say like it's 80% accurate. There's sure, whatever. And then I kind of just like let it go. But then Jamila, my current wife, she spoke to her older brother, ISTP Andy, made a video with him as well. And he had been studying this stuff in depth for a while. And he had been studying it because he was a screenwriter at the time. And he told Jamila that he doesn't think that I'm an ESFJ. He thinks that I'm an ENFJ. I saw all of this as like another which Disney princess are you kind of test. Like, what does this all mean? I don't really care. These are just a bunch of letters and stuff like that. That is just like, it's almost like horoscopes. Like, what is this? But then when I read about the ENFJ, like Jamila was like, "Oh my gosh, you have to see this," and I'm like, ugh. And I read about it, and it was like, whoa! Like it was explaining stuff about like even absorbing feelings from other people, and a lot of things that were just like scary, scary, scary point on things that it was just scary. Like it really, really fit. And I was like, wow. So yeah, I guess I am really an ENFJ. And it was like, wait a minute. How did Andy know that I was an ENFJ, but the test didn't even know? And how and me and Andy had only had like a few conversations as well. So I was like, wow, well, I want to learn more about the science behind this, and I want to become as good as Andy is at typing people or whatever. And then I started learning more about Jamila's type and like the other people in my life, like loved ones. And before you know it, like I'm watching like Dave Superpowers videos, like the old Dave Superpowers videos. So, like, and I'm just really like getting into personality hacker, all of that. And before you know it, I'm developing my NI and doing a whole bunch of like practices and stuff so that I could become a better version of myself. So yeah, I think that's kind of like the process of discovering that I was an ENFJ and how I found out about MBTI. And the last question is from Solange Fernandez. How has Enneagram helped you evolve / grow as a person? Yeah, I think I already answered that. But in short terms, it's helped me further realize why I do what I do, why I always post stuff like, hey, for anyone interested, and I still do that because I just can't turn that off. Like, I just always want people to know, like, I'm not forcing anybody to watch this. I don't feel like I'm entitled to anything, it's just for anyone who cares to listen. This is what I'm sharing. And it taught me like why I have such a really interesting relationship with my anger, as in like I'm afraid of it, and why just why to a whole bunch of stuff. Like in my Enneagram journey videos, I talk a lot about that. How has your faith, MBTI, and Enneagram helped you be a better husband? That's big. So definitely as a Christian, that's the biggest first and foremost thing, because like as a Christian, it says that a husband is supposed, everybody always talks about like, the wife should submit to their husband, whatever. And submit is not what you think it means. Like I don't have Jamila ever go make me a sandwich and do my bidding. In fact, if anything, she makes me do that. But one thing that it definitely like has helped me develop as a husband is continuing to serve. And once again, like as a Christian, the Bible says that the husband should love his wife, not only as he loves himself, but the way that Jesus loves us. And Jesus gave his life for us. He lived a perfect life and then he died for us and everything. And no matter how many times we may wrong Jesus, he still forgives us. He still loves us, So that's something that has helped me. And then once again, my MBTI and Enneagram, it's helped me better understand myself, and it's helped me better understand her. And so now, instead of trying to get Jamila, who's more reserved than I am, and who's more realistic and all of that than I am and everything, instead of trying to get her to become more like me, I have now grown to help her to become more like herself, and I can understand how she's viewing the world rather than just trying to say like, oh, well, my way of viewing the world is right. So yeah, that's in a nutshell how my faith and learning about MBTI and Enneagram has helped me to become a better husband. How'd you deal with the toxic covert manipulator? It would depend on the situation, but I will say in short that I would observe how they're manipulating, their technique. And my whole thing is always playing dumb. I'm always acting as if I don't know what's going on. That way, when the time is right, I can foil the plan. And so I would just continue to allow the person to string along, depending on the situation, string me along and observe, but have them thinking that I have no idea of what's going on. and then at the fullness of time, I'll either approach them about it in a way that'll flip the tables, or I'll just soil the plan in some way, shape, or form. But there's also always the opportunity of just like cutting the person out. Like, and I feel like most people, that's the advice that I'd give them. Like me, I like to play around with such people. Like, but I don't think that everybody has that type of patience or fascination. So yeah. What's something about you that you'd like to change? My height. I am 5'7", and I legit prayed so many times, like, God, I don't even have to be 6 foot. I just want to at least be 5'9", So that's something that I would change, my height. What else would I? Everything personality wise, I think that I have the power to change that. Or if anything, like I'm coming to peace with it. And so in my development, I guess I don't really have like things that I would like to change. I'm already changing it. So yeah. Yeah. Also, if we're being candid, sex drive. Yeah, I'd like less of that. Anyway, moving on. What's something about you that you'd like? Yeah. Oh, what's your idea of perfect day? Spending time with friends who really care and value what I have to say, and also have very substantial things to say and share themselves, and we're all listening to each other. I don't want to be the center of attention. I only like having the mic for a little bit and then passing it around. So if I could spend like a day out, like if it's like really nice outside, I like being outside. If I could spend the day outside with just, a few friends, and we're just talking, and everybody's non-judgmental, and we're just sharing like deep insights and thoughts on life and things that we think about and all of that, while enjoying the breeze and staring at the clouds or playing games, whatever, and everyone's just having a good time, and listening to each other, not like talking over each other and stuff like that, and not interrupting each other or anything. Like, yeah, that would be great. That would be really great for me. It seems simple, but it's really not. So yeah, like I feel like that's very hard to find, in my opinion. What's your dream trip? I'd have to think about that. Yeah, I'd have to really think about that. Yeah, I'm sorry. I can't answer that right now because I'll just sit down and I'll have y'all waiting for a while. But I will say that I did enjoy my trip to Bermuda. And me and Jamila's Gems I'll Ask and Tell video of the whole vlog showing our the bachelor party, plus the wedding rehearsal, plus the wedding, plus us on the cruise, and then us at Bermuda, all of that, like that whole thing, that was fun for me, besides Jamila getting sick and not being able to have fun with me. But yeah, that was a great trip. And last question from Solange. Relationships help you grow as a person. How has Jamila helped you grow? Sorry, so many questions. Another great question. Yeah. Jamila has helped me grow incredibly because, sheesh. Now that I think about it, she, in light of what I was saying earlier in this video, she was like probably the first person to really show deep interest in what I have to say. Wow, yeah. Not as in like nobody's ever showed interest in what I have to say, but as in like consistently show it. Like when me and her like first met, Jamila found me annoying, understandably. Because once again, being social 9, the group of friends that I hung out with, they were very loud, and and they liked to have fun. And what I saw from them is that they valued comical people. So even though I'm not really much of a type of person, I tried to really be that so that they could keep me in their group. And Jamila found that as a turnoff. And I didn't really know that up until one day, I didn't really feel like I had to, like, I guess maybe perform as much around Jamila. And we were just talking one day, and then she was like, I like this you better than the other you, or whatever. And I was like, whoa. It took me a while to like really process that, but she was really like Jamila is such an amazing listener. And when I would sit down, I'd just say all of these things that I think about and everything. Like, she would like stare at me and like she'd listen. And this is back when she didn't even like me. She was telling me that I'm not I'm not good enough for her, pretty much. Like that's a whole other story. But yeah, like, this is never gonna happen. You're 40% of the man I'd like to spend the rest of my life with. Yeah, that's Jamila. But we were still best friends at the time, and she was really just listening to me. And in doing that, she's helped me have more confidence. She's somebody that I know that I can go to regardless of whatever, and she will be interested in like listening to what I have to say. And in the same sense, I would like to think that I do the same thing for her. Like, a lot of wives and girls, significant others, stuff like that, like, they'll complain about how men don't listen to them and how men, whatever. I never really had that problem. Like, I never related to that. I actually had women telling me all the time that I am a great listener, that the reason why they value me over other men, even though they wanted to date all of the other men that were douches and stuff like that, was because they felt like I actually cared about what they had to say, and I asked really good questions, and I wanted them. Not even wanted them. The thing is, I didn't want them romantically. I just wanted to better understand them once again. So yeah, that's how Jamila's like helped me, and she's also helped me like just better get to know myself. Like, she's very gentle, and so she points out a lot of things that I may not even be aware of that I do or that I say, and she'll like point them out to me, and then she'll when she presents them to me, I'm like, dang, really? Am I really like that? And then that helps me to like kind of like have a mirror to be able to work on myself with. So yeah, that's that. And now I'll do free form questions for as long as it seems like I'll be having to do this. So said hello to Sarah, said hello to Ella. What's up, Dan? Yeah, well, to question, which type growing up was hardest for you to relate / enter? Easy. No offense to them, but ISTJs, I couldn't, and sometimes it's still very hard. Because they're just, I get along with quite a few of them, especially now that I understand type and I understand how they are. Even if they're not meeting me where I am, it's easier for me to meet them where they are because I understand them more. So there are ISTJs that I do get better along with, but if I had to say like which one do I get the least along with or was harder getting along with, ISTJs for sure, because they just seem like everything that I value, they seem to detest it. Like, everything that I value, they seem to detest it. It seems like it's like everything that I ask of them, they're like, why? Like, I'm like, hey, could you have just said that a little bit nicer? Why? That I didn't mean it that way, so just take it. It's like, okay. And they just make, and like, yeah. And then, they don't really value a lot of times the way that I say things. Like, they can make it seem like if I'm talking about something, like, hurry up, like, especially if it's like, if I'm going like more abstract, which is understandable as a sensor dominant, but then, they wouldn't understand. Like, for me, the same thing. Like, if you're hitting me with all of this SI, it's going to be annoying to me as well, especially if you're looking at the socionics model, like SI being like my weakest function. So, but hey, I do what I can. Hold on, hey, Lonnie. And Jamila, beautiful faith up there, said, "Are your eyebrows naturally like that?" Yes, yes, they are. I do not try to like make my eyebrows in any type of way. I'm not conscious of how they like, they're just like that. And my father said that ever since I was a baby, like he literally has like pictures of my eyebrows just always having been like that. So yeah, that's funny. People used to always ask me if I got my eyebrows like done. And I'm like, no, I don't. I've never got my eyebrows done. It's just like that. I get what you're saying. I agree to a point, but I feel like society is more cold. I agree with you, Sarah. Yeah, I think that society is. I think that it all goes back to defensiveness. It's because they're so sensitive. That's why they get so defensive. The most defensive people are the most sensitive people. So as soon as you see somebody like lashing out and like being that way, like, oh, well, I don't care. I don't care. They really care, but they're making themselves not care. So they're making themselves seem cold. It's a front. It's kind of like a conversation I was having on Twitter, where I expressed that Beyonce's irreplaceable. I never really had a good taste of it. It's like, you must not know about me. I could have another you in a minute. Matter of fact, he'll be here in a minute. Why would you want a relationship like that where you could replace your partner so easily that it seems as if you never cared about the partner to begin with? Like, oh, I could literally get over you that quick. Even if you turn out to be a horrible person, my attraction for you could be out the door in literally a minute, and I could have that attraction for somebody else in so quick. That makes a person seem cold, but in actuality, that person just it's a coping mechanism. Like it's something that they're just kind of like enforcing. It's their way of like saying like, nah, I'm not gonna let myself like fall into that. When actuality is like, no, you are. Like that's your pitfall right there. Like, you're not really that cold. I've met cold people before. You're not that cold. So yeah, I think that's more of like how society operates in that manner, that they're just oversensitive, and that's why they're like that. I'd use the words cruel. Yes, cruel. I would use that word too, Ella. Like, and that because that's why. Like, cold suggests that they really don't care, but cruel is like, yeah, yeah. Cold and cold shoulder. Cool is more action oriented. Than that, dude. Yeah. Someone asked, "Are you a Nazi?" No, I am not. I don't know what made you ask that, but yeah, just so that you're no longer curious. I am not a Nazi. I'm a 9-2, and being a sloth is my huge issue. Yeah, it's something. Thankfully, as a social 9, it's not as huge of a problem, but it's still a problem. Like, there's a lot more that I could get done every day. Yeah, I'm even proud of myself for getting this done right now. I'm not in my tri-type. Nice. Such a procrastinator. Yeah, aren't we all? Can't wait for the 2020 election and the legendary Donald Trump wins again. The liberal tears will overflow. No comment. Do FE Doms naturally desire to be a leader, or is it something they grow into? Oh, good question, Sarah. Okay, so I think that FE Doms do not naturally desire to be leader, unless if it depends on the situation. Like me, for example, I do have a desire to be a leader, but only in certain places. You know what I mean? Like, there are times, plenty of times, where it's like, no, I actually don't want to be leader right now because I think that somebody else is best or better suited for the job. But then if I feel like that's what the people want for me to be the leader, and I actually will do a good job with it, then I do desire to be the leader for the people, because what I want is for everybody to have their needs met. I want everybody's voice to be heard. And if I have the ability to be able to bring that to the table and to be able to help facilitate that and use my power to bring that forth, then I want to make use of that. But not if the people are against it. So only if the people are with it. So, screw the haters. Yeah, screw the haters. A tribe of 9s would be awesome. I really love 9s. Jamila's a for self-preservation social, but she has a lot of 9 energy to me. It's probably most likely in her tri-type. So she should be invited as well. But yeah, Tribe of Nines would be really cool. I'm new. Welcome. Thanks for answering my question. No problem. Thanks for leaving questions. Like and subscribe. Oh, well, thanks. I appreciate that. SpongeBob is the best. SpongeBob is great. My sister would be very happy to read that. Technically, would you say that nines do manage to scratch their own back since their top priority is conflict resolution? I'm not sure even if nine's top priority is conflict resolution. I think that what they value is conflict resolution, but priority means that it's like more action oriented. So I feel like I don't think that a lot of nines jump to try and like solve conflict. I feel like if anything, they're way more conflict avoidant and they retreat into themselves, kind of like what I was explaining with my younger sister. Like la 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 la. As long as I'm happy in here, then it doesn't really matter. But yeah, I guess at least in my sense, sure, I'm scratching my own back a little bit because in helping to bring harmony and peace to the world, then that's also helping to bring harmony and peace within myself. So I'm selflessly selfish. What about 148 ENTJ? Oh, I have no idea. Yeah, I can't speak on that. Tri-types are difficult for me for right now. I'm still learning. I'm sorry. Seriously, I relate to someone is also self-preservation. Nice. It's probably the SE blind spot that allows your sister to check out for a bit. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, she's always like, Denzel, why do you bother to explain yourself to people or into all of that? Like for me, as long as I know that what I am doing is okay, whatever, then I'm just gonna do it. Like it doesn't really matter what other people think. And it's like for me, that's not enough. Like I kind of like need that validation like from other people. I wish that it weren't that way, but it's kind of also like a good check and balance because then if enough people are telling me like, yo, Denzel, like this is out of pocket, then I'm going to listen to them, as opposed to like being stubborn in my own. So that's probably the see. Yeah, speaking from experience. Do you relate as a nine to being afraid of your own anger? Yes, because you're afraid of harming someone else in the process of it. Absolutely. In my zooming in on my relationship with the anger video that I posted, you guys should definitely check it out. Like I did something new with it this time. Like I included like little different scenes I'm gonna try and do more often in my videos. Pray that I get a new computer so I can do this type of more fun video stuff more often. But yeah. I definitely relate to that. I'm incredibly afraid of my anger. I related myself to Teen Gohan. I don't know how familiar you are with Dragon Ball Z, but Teen Gohan, when he was facing Cell Super Saiyan 2, and Goku made him go and fight Cell because he knew that Gohan has a temper within himself that like when he gets angry, then he gets in fights and he has no control over his powers and he doesn't. It hurts him to have to be that way, and I don't want to sever ties. I don't want to destroy people, to destroy relationships. I don't want to hurt people, but if it comes to it and that's for the greater good, then it's almost like the Hulk. You know, I don't want to become the Hulk, but sometimes you have to become the Hulk, I guess, which is what I'm learning in order to bring change. I'm not saying that Martin Luther King Jr. was a 9. I hear that he's a 1. He's most likely a one wing 9. But he got angry at racism before he was able to bring change. And so, yeah. I relate to your wife so much as an ISFP too. Yeah, my wife is really dope. And I think that she's like one of the best ISFPs out there, pretty much. Like, I mean, subjectively, I think she is the best ISFP out there. But objectively, I think that she's literally like such a great example of a very well developed ISFP, besides Michael Jackson and Mulan. I was just like this ISFP too, but still trying to figure it out. Cool. I just understand. I see. What do you notice about types with weak TI or TI blind spot? Types with weaker TI, I'd say that they usually value tact, and they're always aware of the truth that they want to say, but they may either omit telling you the truth so that it won't hurt your feelings, or they just won't, or they will just really, really sugarcoat it. And I think that it takes if you integrate the TI very well, then you'll learn how to sugarcoat it without diluting the truth, which once again, I put in a lot of videos as well. But yeah, I think that's it. And the most stereotypical thing, which is that X-Men movie that's coming out with. Okay. The X-Men thing that's coming out with Jean Grey and Professor Xavier. I believe that Jean Grey is an INFJ and Professor Xavier is an ENFJ. We see this especially in X-Men Apocalypse. And one big thing is that Professor Xavier, it's almost like gaslighting. Oh man, it's like he's like, oh, don't worry about it. Like, it's nothing, when he really knows like the situation at hand. But he's trying to keep things calm because as he deals with it. So I think that that's another thing. It's the stereotypical, we were just trying to protect you, that you see a lot in shows, when it's oftentimes the way to protect a person is by telling them the truth. But, and I could be biased here, sometimes I feel like that's not the case. You shouldn't always have to. Sometimes it is best to wait for the right time to tell the truth, because some people are not ready for the truth. And if you tell them the truth, especially at the wrong time and in the wrong way, it's going to cause even more problems. Which means you jump over a single function. That's a 9. All I want is all of us to smoke a peace pipe and love each other and respect each other. Is that too much to ask? Hold on. Hope I just lost my spot. I'll join. I have it in my tri-type. Yeah, I would definitely like for you to join. You seem cool. Anybody who actually cares about what we have to say is invited. We're not going to keep you out. No day. Oh, bye, Sheila. Well, she's not here anymore. Understand the ICJ thing. My hardest work relationship so far was an older ICJ colleague who treated me like her employee, even though she had no authority over me. But I appreciate my ICJ cis friends. Just take it the right way. I told you this before. Why don't you remember what's your point? Yeah, ISTJs. I complain about them enough on Twitter and in real life, and especially on here. So, but I put out an ICJ deep dive interview video, which if you guys haven't checked out, then you should. Me and this specific ISTJ, we have a very interesting relationship. I'd compare it to Arnold from Hey Arnold and Helga's, even though Arnold is an INFJ in my opinion, and Helga's an ESTJ. But yeah, it's kind of like the same thing. They have a sweet side. I can see that being cold because they're sensitive. Good point. Yeah, the front side, it's like something unhealthy with TJs. They're FI, they're secretly sensitive. I have 2 INTJs in my. Yeah, ITJs are definitely secretly sensitive. And they put out a very cold front, but they're not really cold. In fact, because of FI, every action they're making is coming from a very deeply personal spot, even if they're unaware of it, which is very interesting. So if they're saying you're being over emotional and everything, which you could be, oftentimes they don't even know how much their own emotions are influencing them. So yeah, they secretly sensitive. 2 INTJs in my family, trust me. Everyone asks who is Denzel, but no one asks. Everyone actually asks, how am I? I feel like it's probably the reverse. Maybe not enough people really ask, who am I? Or if they ask, they don't really care to actually figure it out. They don't really care to actually know who I truly am. So I share only a segment, and if they really want to know more, then they'll ask more. People are afraid to ask someone how he/she feels most of the time because people tend to always say the same, "I'm fine," lie. Yeah, and that's because we don't really know. We don't. And fine is always relative. I try not to lie. In fact, I try to avoid lying at all costs. So a lot of times I'll be like, I'm pretty all right, which could mean, oftentimes it does mean, that I'm not doing so well, but I'm hanging in there. And I'll let you know if, like, honestly, I do trust you to share it with you, but sometimes I just don't want to stir stuff back up within myself by talking about it. So sometimes talking about it just won't help. In fact, it'll make things worse for the other person. So that's what I think. Yeah. Thanks for answering my question. You're welcome. Denzel, can you please make ENFJ and ISFJ interactions deep dive, hopefully? Yes, I want to. I just have to find a good enough ISFJ. Not, I don't mean that in an offensive manner, of course, but like, as in like, I've been trying to pick like good hosts for my deep dive interview videos, and it's hard to find an ISFJ within my proximity because I've been trying to have like these deep dives be in person, so that we can like I can actually have like the full energy of the person. But yeah, if I can find one who's actually like interested in MBTI and would present like as a good example and everything, that'd be great. Yeah. And people like me and INFJ don't buy it anymore. But asking this person again, not stating nor stating my suspicion isn't easy due to them shutting down quickly if they feel like it's too personal. Very understandable. Very, very understandable. FI is awesome. Yes, it is. It can be when it's very healthy. Totally relate to the Hulk analogy. I think it's a problem when your thinking function is inferior. Yeah, because I store all of these critical thoughts. I subconsciously store them. And when I'm to go off on you, I'm not going to say things like, well, that's why you look like it, like the clown or something like that. You know what I mean? Like things that'll just make you be like, okay, or that's why your mom, I'm going to say things that are truthful about you that you either don't know about yourself, but you can't deny, or you already do know it about yourself and you're probably already insecure of, which isn't good. It's not something that I'm proud about, but that's what I mean. Like I have to further, like my tongue will definitely destroy relationships, like to the point of like no forgiveness if I'm pushed to that point, and I don't want it to come that way. So like, yeah, having that inferior TI there, plus being a 9, not a good combo for when I'm actually like angry, because I could hit pretty below the belt, and I don't ever want to hit that point. Agreed when it's developed. I was mostly referring to EXFP types who have a TI blind spot in my earlier. Oh, okay. I was replying to your comment about FI. Sorry. Okay. Okay. That actually makes a lot of sense. Because yeah, those types, like, no offense to them, but I feel like they're so scattered oftentimes that I feel like they don't really they don't get as deep with me as I would like for them to. And I realize it's not their fault, but they're just so much of the gist type of people. And I personally just don't like that. I don't want you to just know like the essence of me. I want you to know like everything of me as I try to know everything of you. Yeah. Do you think you're good at spotting it when people lie? Yes, I do think I'm good at it, but oftentimes, kind of like the manipulation thing, I let people do that to me until the right time, depending on what it is. Do you think you're good at assessing people and seeing through them, or do you get stuck in giving them the benefit of the doubt? I give the benefit of the doubt so that, and I talk about this in my self-fulfilling prophecies confirmation bias video I posted like last month or so. I keep in my mind that this person is most likely going to follow this train of path, like this train of thought. But I give them the opportunity to change their own destiny. That being said, even though I may think whatever I think of them in my head, I treat them as if I'm not thinking that. I treat them as if I am naive so that they can hopefully surprise me, because I actually don't want to be right in those situations. I want to be like, oh, wow, they really were about it, So, yeah. Just curious. Honestly, dominant feelers really know how to sting where it hurts. Yes, we do. Because if you're so good at complimenting people and you're so good at like knowing how to make people feel good and everything, then of course you'll have knowledge on how to make people feel terrible, So yeah, once again, not something to be proud about, but it's just what it is. Inferiority can be that way too. Yep. All right, and I guess this is the last question for today. Did you grow up in a religious home? Yes, I did. Religious leaves a bad taste in my mouth because I think of like what religion looks like. You know what I mean? Like just very rule based and stuff like that. But I grew up in a very spiritual home. I like that word. And our faith was in Christianity. It's in Christianity. And yeah, so prayer, like practicing prayer and like learning about theology and about God, the God of the Bible, was something that I grew up on. But yeah, I didn't really learn to digest what all of that truly meant until I was 15. Yeah. And okay, last thing. I definitely do not think the Joker is ENFJ. The Joker is in no way a judger. The Joker is definitely a perceiver, and his NE, he just wants to cause chaos, but he uses his FE pretty well. Yeah. Oh yeah, no problem for your curiosity. I don't mind that question at all. So yeah, wow, guys, really, thank you for tuning in. Seriously, especially so unannounced. Like I literally prepared my mind for, hey, I'm going to hop onto this live stream and I'm gonna have nobody watching it because I didn't announce it and all of that, and I'm just gonna answer the questions that I already wrote down, and people can watch it post live stream or people can not watch it at all. It is what it is. I'm gonna be happy with whatever this comes to, and you guys really came through and surprised me with this. So I'm really grateful. Like, you guys are awesome. Seriously, I really appreciate it. So yeah, that's all for now. I'll definitely do another Q&A in the future. For coaching, be sure to check out the description. I have stuff where you can actually book sessions with me. If you want discipleship, if you want your type clarified to know which personality type that you are, if you want relationship coaching, or if you just want to sit and talk about stuff, I would love to sit down and talk to you guys about everything all day, honestly. But as much I would definitely do that if I was making money to be able to sit down and do that all day. But yeah, because I have to pay bills and stuff like that, then I have to unfortunately charge people for stuff like that. But I try to make it all worth it. So yeah, be sure to check that out. Let me know. And once again, thanks everyone for tuning in. Done.